everybody, John here, back for another video. Yeah, I felt inspired today. I watched a video of a new channel, a man called Chris Mawson, I saw on YouTube come up in my feed, and he spoke at length about progressive rock music, which is a subject that we all love, don't we? And yeah, he sort of charted a path from the sort of proto-prog records, and basically covered the years of the what we call the golden age of progressive rock, and showed sort of good examples of records from the various years. And I think he went as far as 1974 or 5, and I thought, well, that was really interesting. I mean, he didn't show anything we hadn't seen before, but he spoke very well about it. It was nice to see it, and it was a nice, a nice introduction to his channel. I think it was his first video. So I thought what I would do is take a similar path, or the same path as he took, but show some perhaps alternative records. Yeah, that's what I thought I'd do. Alternative progressive rock gems from those golden age years. Chris started off by showing a couple of records from 1968, sort of proto-prog, and I thought about that. He showed Jimi Hendrix, Electric Ladyland, for instance, and oh, what else was there? There was something else I can't remember. Well, what I thought I would do is I would show this one as a proto-prog record. This is Traffic, their 1968 Traffic album. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily sound directly prog, but it certainly was sort of psychedelic rock. And hey, they list it on Discogs as being prog rock, and yeah, I suppose I've just listened to it. I just put it on span. I haven't played this in years. This is a copy I picked up in California when I was living there, and yeah, it's an original. I get surprised myself for some of the records I have in my collection. I know for a fact I paid $1 for this, and yeah. It's a lovely record. So that's my first sort of 1968 proto-prog record I'm going to show. There are bits and pieces in it. You can hear that's sort of perhaps the direction the things are going. The next record I'm going to show, which isn't an original, it's sort of a modern reissue from 1968, and that is Small Faces, Ogden's Nut Gone Flake. Well, if you don't know about this record, you need to find out about it. I mean, it's a sort of a psychedelic classic, and yeah, I mean, for better and for worse, it's got some great songs and great music and everything. It's got this annoying thing sort of threaded throughout the album, where they have this man called, what was his name, Stanley Unwin or something like that, that does this funny speech pattern when he talks. It's kind of funny the first time and the second time, but after that I just find it irritating. But this is definitely a fantastic proto-prog album from 1968. Funny to think that, yeah, this, the last record I showed, would have been being made at the same time as Pink Floyd's second album, and it's incredible to think that they were, of the same time. Then Chris showed us a copy of King Crimson's first album, In the Court of Crimson King, widely regarded as perhaps being the first progressive rock album proper. Quite rightly so. And as a sort of follow-up, he showed Omagama by Pink Floyd. Yeah, probably quite far out for their time. I'm going to show this. This is the first album by Renaissance. Here is Keith Relf et al. So this is what Keith Relf went on to do, and Jim McCarthy, after the Yardbirds sort of started to fall apart. He left it in the hands of Jimmy Page, basically, who would then shortly go on to make the new Yardbirds, which is what Led Zeppelin was. This is another direction from that band, and I actually do quite like this. I'm not the biggest fan of Renaissance. They've made some good records, but I often feel their sound relies too heavily on the singer's voice. I'd like, much rather sort of hear some more upfront orchestration, but that's just my taste. So that's Renaissance, 1969. And the next album I'm going to show from that year is Hot Rats by Frank Zappa. Is it progressive rock? Is it jazz rock? Is it psychedelic? Well, I think there's no denying that this wasn't, there's no denying that this was a big influence on many things to come, and set the pace, I think, for Frank Zappa's own career. It certainly turned a lot of heads. I should imagine that people that had gone out and bought In the Court of the Kings and Crim, most likely probably also went out and bought this and probably enjoyed it in much the same way. That's 1969. For 1970, Chris showed a Manfred Mann album, and he cheated a little bit, he said, because he showed the Yes album, which was recorded in 1970 but released in 1971. Many of these ones that I'm showing, I don't know if I would describe them as being essential listening, like many of the records that Chris showed, but they're certainly worthwhile listening, put it that way. So I'm just showing the ones that I enjoy from those years, and I think it's worth considering. This is Atomic Rooster, released in 1970. Death Walks Behind You, it's called. This is another record that I picked up very, very cheaply at a charity shop here in Barry, where I live. I paid £1 for this, believe it or not. Just, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. This is an interesting record. It's got a very creepy track on it, Death Walks Behind You, and it's really just fantastic music, really, really good. Runner-up for that year. I'm going to put Cressida here, and that's the reissue. Quite typical, I think, of the music that was developing, you know. Very similar to many other bands, but like, they produce some great quality progressive rock. This is a band that I really like called Earth and Fire, and a few years ago I went through this this thirst for mellotron, and I sort of looked up bands that were particularly melloton rich, you know, type bands, and this came up. I'd never heard of them before. Actually, I believe it's the first album that they produced actually had a Roger Dean cover, but it's quite hard to come by. But this is really good. Runner up from that year, 1971. I'm going to show again another reissue. This is Beggar's Opera, and yeah, they were another band, very melloton rich sounding music, and yeah, I've heard these being compared to Cressida, or Cressida, how you going to pronounce it. Sort of similar kind of band that were sort of making that kind of music that we all know and love at the time. They don't get an awful lot of mention, do they? But I think you'll enjoy some of this. So, for 1972, Chris showed Foxtrot by Genesis and Trilogy by ELP. I'm going to go with a couple of records that I particularly like from that year. Again, I don't know if they're essential listening, but they're certainly, you know, recommended listening, put it that way. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this one. Knidrolog, difficult one for me, that one, a bit of a mouthful. And I'll be honest, I did buy this for the cover, let's face it. It is a fantastic cover. I've still got the shrink on it, so it's a bit glary, sorry about that. But it is an amazing cover. And it's not a bad record too. Surprisingly, I think the first time I showed this record on my channel, yeah, I got some, you know, lovely comments from people that remember listening to this when it came out in '72, and they recommended their second album too, which I do not have. But I'll do a little needle drop of this just to show how good it is. Perhaps a little bit less of an obvious one. This is Babe Ruth, British band, fantastic record this. I had it for a long time, and the opening track is one of those songs, or I'd say it's one of those albums that's got such a strong opening track, it can sort of overshadow the rest of the record. And for many years I had this, I only listened to the first track, which is a big mistake really, because it's a good record. I think a couple of years ago I decided that when I pulled it out I wouldn't listen to that first track, because I wanted to kind of, you know, appreciate the shades of other things that were on the record, and that was a really good thing to do, because you know, it's a great record, and to this day I haven't listened to the opening track for a long time. Look out for this one. This is a Roger Dean cover, actually. It's a nice record. Album. It's a great record. There we go. Again, it's another reissue, but lovingly reproduced. Great record. I think of this year, the same year, I think of the same year, 1972, Greenslade released Bedside Manners Are Extra, which I think I probably prefer over this. Sadly, I don't have a copy of that, so I'm not going to show this one, which is still a very, very good record. Well worth anyone's time listening to. In 1974, Chris chose two very, very strong classic progressive rock records. He chose Red by King Crimson and Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which are two very strong records, aren't they? I'm going to show, for my 1974 choice, I'm going to show Relaya. by Yes. I mean, it's by no means an obscure record, but it's perhaps a Yes record that gets a little bit overlooked. I often wonder, you know, is this the last great record by Yes? I think in many ways it was. You know, it's what can I tell you about this? Well, it was the one where Patrick Moraz joined, and Patrick Moraz had perhaps been in Refugee, and I understand that he left Refugee to come and play on this record and join Yes. It's a great track. I mean, the main track, The Gates of Delirium, is you know, fantastic record. The other side 2 is 2 tracks, and they are very good tracks too. And yeah, like I said, I think it's probably a Yes album that doesn't get as much love and attention as it could do. And so, yeah, my runner-up record for 1974 is Renaissance. I'm going to show. So this is a bit like a supergroup made up between 2 members of The Nice and Patrick Moraz. And like I said, Patrick Moraz went on to join Yes shortly after this. A great alternative listening for 1974. So 1975, I'm going to show Quiet Sun, album called Mainstream. Canterbury Scene record, apparently. A good alternative, a great record. It's the only album they made, actually. And shortly after, Phil Manzanera left to go and join Roxy Music. He worked on the album Siren, I believe. And a runner-up to that album is this one, Renaissance. I think this is probably my favourite Renaissance album. Great thing. I really like the first track, Trip to the Fair, but to be honest with you, great stuff. And then lastly, the last year I'm covering is a krautrock band called Sickte Furs and Fröhling. I'm showing this. I mean, this is a great alternative album for that year, 76. And by this time, you know, prog rock was sort of dissipating, wasn't it? And punk was happening. I'm showing this purely because of the huge influence this had on one of my favourite bands that weren't going to happen for another, well, a long time, early 90s. I'm talking about Englagord, possibly my favourite band. This is a fantastic influential record that they had obviously been listening to, because you can hear it all the way through their music. Lastly, I'm going to show Berkeley James Harvest, October On. I think, to be honest with you, this was a good place to stop, because, you know, honestly, Berkeley James Harvest, I've got a lot of their records. Some of it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of theirs, but this record, you know, they really need to get over themselves, I think. So it's probably just as well that you know, punk rock started happening, because otherwise, you know, we'd have had more of this, and that's not good. Okay, thanks very much everybody. Thank you very much Chris. I really enjoyed your video and it inspired me to do this. I hope you don't mind me putting in a few needle drops. I like to do that, it's good fun. And okay, check out my next video. Bye.